live here on Rumble and on YouTube. Let me just verify this for a moment. Hold on a second. Yep. So it's really hard to start a live stream because it's not like a preset video. I got all this environmental things I got to worry about to make sure everything is transmitting. And I don't see YouTube yet. Hold on a second while I set that up. I know some of you are irritated when I do this, but it's a live stream. That's what live streams do. Okay, now I don't see, there you go. Now I see the comments on YouTube there now. And Rumble's live as well. Thank you for being here, my friends. And this, of course, is our regularly scheduled live stream, which is on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific time, which is on the -8 time zone. So we're -8. So depending where you are in the world, just adjust for -8 and come join us. So a lot of the people in Europe, for example, are asleep by now. So let's see. I don't see anything coming out on YouTube yet. Is anybody seeing me here? There's no video coming out on YouTube here, so hold on a second here. Goodness, it started a completely different session. Oh my gosh, it did. Why does it do that? Darn. Okay, so YouTube started a completely different live stream than what I had scheduled here. Okay, so everything is screwed up here on the YouTube end. Why did that happen? I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out later on, but I guess if you're on the wrong station, you're not going to see this because the live stream that I had scheduled with the correct title is not there. Instead, we're on a broadcast with no title. Darn. Okay, so we are all messed up here. I don't see anybody on Rumble, so I hope Rumble is okay. Let me just verify that a second here. Sorry for the interruptions, my friends. It's just unpredictable until you start it. You don't really know what you're going to see until, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. Okay, so yeah, hold on. Let me just turn off the sound here. Okay, so this is part of the problem here is then I can't even. So you hear the sound coming out of the other device. Okay, I think we got that squared away now. Sorry about that. I mean, it's just technical difficulties here. So there's something wrong. Somebody must have changed something here somewhere. So I'm using a product called Restream.io, and something got messed up. So don't know the reason, so we'll deal with that later on. Anyway, hopefully everyone can see me now. I don't see any traffic on Rumble, so I'm worried about that. But if I don't have a live session on Rumble, then you'll see me on the replay. So I'll ignore Rumble for now until I see some traffic on there. Anyway, the topic tonight is about your phone. The topic tonight is about your phone and the fact that the people selling you the phones, and I'm talking about normie phones here, the people selling you your phones are saying that you have a secure phone. So that's what they're telling you. You have a secure phone. And none of you ever ask, what the heck does that mean to have a secure phone? Why is it secure? And some of them, even Apple specifically, advertises the phone as a privacy phone. It's iPhone is privacy is what the mantra is in the advertising. And so the question is, well, is that true? What's the truth here? And it's really amazing how so much misinformation or disinformation is spread out there. And they have the money, you know. Apple makes billions from selling you the phones. Google does as well. And there are, for example, 2 billion Androids made every year. 2 billion Android's made every year. So they're going to make these statements and you don't even understand what that means. It is true that some of these phones can be marketed as secure in some aspects, if you understand what that means. But in many ways, they're not even relevant. They're not even relevant. So I'm going to give you an analogy so you understand what I'm talking about. It's like you consider your phone as your house. So you have a house and it has armed security. You actually have armed guards outside with weapons guarding it in a fence that is electrified. So, and if you try to go into the gate, somebody's going to check your ID and make sure you're supposed to be there before they let you in. Like really serious stuff. Okay? That's the imagery they give you about your phone. But what they didn't tell you was that there's a tunnel to your house and everyone can go in and out of there, pretty much ignoring the physical view of the house with all that security supposedly in there when there's really none, because you can go inside and outside through this tunnel. So that's the kind of fake news that we often hear about your phone. And one of the things that was just really supremely stupid of some people. So this one guy with this group that shall not be named, you know, I'm always attacked by this group, you know, from Reddit. And they're kind of boring now because they're so stupid. I don't know what to say. So you know, they're the cybersecurity experts. They're the cybersecurity experts, and they came at me with this comment that really made me come up with this live stream topic. And the comment is that, does your phone, the Brax 2 phone, the one I sell, does it have a secure enclave security chip? And if you have an iPhone, that's what they call it, secure enclave. There's a security chip in there. You probably don't even know what that security chip does. And does it have that? Because if it doesn't have that, and by the way, newer Pixels also have the security chip. Now, understand what I just said. Newer Pixels have it. Older Pixels don't. Newer Pixels have this, and they also have a neural chip for AI. So the phone has a neural chip on an iPhone since, I believe, since iPhone 10. And the latest Pixels using the special chip made by Google, I think it's the 6 Pro and 7 Pro, and they also have this so-called security chip or security enclave. And you don't even know what that's for, but boy, that really sounds good. So when somebody asks me, oh, does your phone have a security chip? Oh, it doesn't. Your phone must be insecure. Nobody should buy your phone. I mean, it's all, you know, it's all, you know, scary stuff. Let's get the iPhone. Let's get an iPhone and a Google Pixel. Now, just think about that a second, guys. Let's get an iPhone and a Google Pixel. So, in other words, the argument is that you should be on a normie phone, because a normie phone, which is what a Google Pixel would run in Google Android is, and an iPhone, those are called normie phones, and they're used by the NPCs. So, if you're an NPC, yeah, you should be using those phones because they've tricked you, and you're supposed to follow because an NPC follows. NPC is like saying sheep. Same thing. NPC, sheep, normie following sheep. Yeah, they're all NPCs. So if you want to be an NPC, yeah, that's the one to get. Now, what is interesting is, what exactly does this chip do? And how does it relate to the security and privacy issue we keep discussing? And the main example I can give you of what is supposed to mean by the security chip is that back a few years back, or many years back now, there was a terrorist that started shooting up people in in San Bernardino, California, so just an hour away from me. And so the FBI said, hey, we want to access their phone. So they killed the terrorists, 2 of them, I believe. And we want to access their phones. And Apple said, no zucking way. We're not going to allow you to get into that phone. Because, you know, you have to put the security code. And if you put the wrong security code X number of times, the phone will lock up and basically wipe the data, and that's it. So the FBI couldn't do that in theory. They found a way later on, but they said, well, you know, we can't do that. And so Apple used that to advertise and say, oh, we have a security feature, the secure enclave. And so you can't really break into the phone because nobody knows the password to the phone. And you only get so many tries, you know, like 10 tries. So you can't like test out on all the possibilities, even if it's, you know, 4 digits or 6 digits, because if you make a mistake, you wipe the phone. And for the FBI, that's not something that they want, because they want access. Now, there's so much fake news in here that it's just crazy. For one thing, the phone and its contents and its basically its transactions are on zucking iCloud. There's even a backup on zucking iCloud, which is not encrypted. So just from there, you can see, well, what the zuck? You know, you're protecting the phone, but you're backing it up on iCloud. By the way, there's been several hacks many years back. We're not before Jeff Bezos' phone got hacked. Several, I believe, famous actors, or I don't recall who the individuals were, but their photos were acquired from their phone. Their photos were acquired for their phone, and it was published, you know, in social media, and basically, you know, photos with those specific famous people in an undressed state, right? So the question was, how did they get that? I mean, the phone has a secure enclave. Well, zuck. They got it from zucking iCloud. They broke into iCloud through whatever means and got the photos from iCloud. The phone wasn't even part of the equation. Same with this terrorist deal. The phone is not even part of the equation. If I wanted to know what you're doing, I'm not going to even need the zucking phone. I just go to Google and Apple and subpoena their information for geofencing if I wanted to know what locations you've been in. For example, they did find locations for the Idaho murder. You know, they found that he was in the area where the murders occurred simply by even cell triangulation. But they didn't even go to Apple and Google, who can actually go specifically into a more specific location, assuming he brought his phone with him. Okay? And that's not kept on the phone. So what is the secure enclave supposed to do? Well, the secure enclave is a way for your security code. I mean, let me just tell you the things you store in a secure enclave. Your passcode, your fingerprint, your Face ID. Okay, these are supposedly biometric data. It's not really biometric. It's just unique data, but it's a biometric source. But the data is actually just capacitance. The facial recognition stuff is basically numerical data about, you know, facial shape, and the code, your security code, is also kept on there. So whatever passcode you use, and you know, and that is then used to encrypt the phone. So the purpose of the security code, so just you understand this, the purpose of the security code on the phone is to take that code as a key to the encryption. So let's say your passcode is 1111, okay? So the 1111 then is a key to the encryption used on the phone. So if somebody like a 3-letter agency or some nefarious party wants to break into the phone, they're not able to break the encryption because they don't know what the key is. The key is whatever you entered based on your passcode. So typically, if you're going to do that, you take the passcode, and from that, maybe do some mathematical things called hashing, create a larger number, use that to be your key to then encrypt the phone, and it's reversible. You cannot find out what is used to do the phone, and the data is stored in the secure enclave. Now, there are actually tricks to find out what that security code is. Even on a secure phone, they found ways to do this. But that's the way that they sell you that the phone is secure, because yeah, the phone is encrypted and you can't get in there without the passcode. So in that sense, yes. The problem is your data on the sucking phone? This is a question that is always needs to be asked, because it's not really clear people actually understand this. Is your data on the phone? Is your data on the phone, or is your data in the cloud somewhere? Is it on iCloud? Is it on Google Docs, Google Drive? Is it accumulated by Apple and Google in a separate database? I'm just trying to see why there's no traffic here on Rumble. So I must be on the wrong video, because I'm not seeing anything here or anybody. So hold on a second. I see there are some people. There we go. Okay. I don't know what happened. It like ignored my settings and went and created a completely different live stream than one I had titled. So now you have a live stream with no title. Title is incorrect. So sorry about that. So anyway, so that's the fake news, is that somehow this phone is supposed to be so reliable because it's secure. But you don't even know. You don't understand what that means. How can you understand what that means when the data is kept in the Zucking cloud at HQ, Apple HQ, and Google HQ? How do you even call it secure? When you use Siri, what do you think you're doing, people? When you're using Siri, what do you think you're doing? Do you think you're actually talking to your phone? I mean, it's a simple question. Do you think you're talking to your phone when you say, "Hey Siri"? Do you actually think that? Many of you will. You are not talking to the phone. The phone is just transmitting your signal to the Apple server. The Apple server is the one listening to you. Therefore, even if after you ask a very sensitive question, on Siri, and your phone got blown away, maybe got run over by a truck, the question you asked is on the Apple server, so Apple knows what your Apple ID did last and can say, oh, that question was asked and is now stored in the Apple server. So the reason I even bring this up is that you actually are told by cybersecurity people that, hey, the phone is secure, and they don't even understand, or nor do they even explain what that really means, or if there's really any kind of security. So this is the difference between a normie phone, which is Apple and Google Androids of any sort, Samsungs and LGs and HTCs and Google Pixels and whatever, shipped to you direct from the stores in its normal form without any modification. These phones are called normie phones because, first of all, they're connected to Apple and Google directly. Every action you take is recorded at HQ, not on the phone. Every location you go to, every MAC address, every IMEI, every IMSI, all of the specific identity things, your Google ID, your Apple ID, every click on the internet, every DNS request, every, on and on and on. And if you take your photo and say, oh, I'm going to share it or put it on Google Photos or iCloud, at that moment, that data gets transferred again remotely to the remote server, and that of course happens automatically in some cases. For example, when you use iCloud and you use backups, in fact, the photos gets transmitted immediately without even any connection to the backup, because it's a separate process. So that's going on. The data is transferred, and you're like saying, "Oh, the phone is secure," and it's like, there's no data on the phone. The phone doesn't matter because you were not aware of what just happened. Your data is not even on the phone. So making a statement that the phone is secure or even private is completely irrelevant. There's no connection there between the security chip, whatever that security chip was supposed to have accomplished, which is to encrypt the drive. The primary purpose of that security chip is to encrypt the drive. That way that nobody keeps that data for the PIN code, which is used to encrypt and come up with a key. No one can see that chip outside of the phone. And by the way, that secure enclave generates a unique key per phone. So every phone has a unique key. So it's another identifier, actually. So the secure enclave is actually another secret little code that says, I want to identify the phone. Is there a way to identify the phone on Apple's end? And yes, they can identify the phone if they want, because it has a secret little chip in there with a secret identifier, and there's probably some API or programming call that can actually read that we may not know about, but they know. So they may have a way of doing that. We don't even know. Am I live on Rumble, Great Gold? Because I'm like, yeah. The problem is the title got screwed up now, so people don't even know what the title of the video is. And it's too late to do it now. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So a phone is sold to you with this concept that it's somehow private, and that's impossible. In fact, it's not possible or secure. It's not possible on a standard normie phone. So the marketing is, if it's a normie phone, you cannot make any statement that says it's secure or private, because that's bullshit. Okay? Tell them how to get the app AdGuard and Blockada and watch all the URL connections Apple is making every second. Well, do I need to tell you that? I mean, yes. There's a lot of things going on. Do I need to tell you of all the telemetry? I mean, I've talked about that over and over. So now, a non-normie phone, meaning a phone running some Android custom ROM with no Google on it, or what we refer to as a de-Google phone, it's completely different. And it's completely different because the connection between the phone and HQ has been severed. There's actually no connection between the phone and HQ, so there's no telemetry. So that constant communication between the phone and the headquarters doesn't exist. There is no Google Photos. You can't run Google Photos, Google Drive, Google Docs. You can't run any of that. So that doesn't exist. And obviously it's not an iPhone, so there's no iCloud. So the Google phone is a completely independent device. It's not connected to anything. So there's no traffic to connect it. Besides, there's no Google ID. So even if it knows how to connect it, there's no way to pass information that says this is this device. It doesn't exist. So that's actually an indication of something that's definitely more private, because that traffic that we're talking about doesn't exist. I mean, it's miraculous. It's the only thing that can save us, because it's like disconnecting the connection between HQ, Apple and Google, to the phone. There is no way to do that on an Apple iPhone. You could tell me a bunch of BS. You can just spend all your time saying, can I put a VPN on the phone? Can I do this on the phone? Can I run all these secure apps? Can I run NetGuard? You can tell me all the stuff. And can I run F-Droid and download only for F-Droid while you're running a normal phone? No. That's not going to change anything, because the communication between that phone and HQ continues. Location tracking and all that, which I explained in many videos, cannot be stopped. On a de-Google phone, that kind of code to allow that communication with HQ does not exist, since there's not even a way to pass a Google ID. So it does. There's no way to actually see it. And this is something that actually happened, I believe, in Android 9. Was it Android 9? I'm trying to remember. We're in Android 13 now, but I believe it was in Android 9 where the ability for any app to see the IMEI, the MAC address, all of these, you know, identifiers on the phone are now blocked. So on Android open source, there is no way for any app to see those. I believe with the exception of the baseband modem, the baseband modem can see it because that the IMEI is actually in the baseband modem. That's where that data is stored. It's in flash memory of the baseband modem. So the baseband modem contacts your carrier and then can pass the IMEI through the radio, not through the internet. This is through the radio. So the IMEI is out of band. It's passed through a radio communication. So your phone has a radio, and then through the radio, it has a tunnel, a data tunnel that can go to the internet. But the main transmission of the radio is split up into the carrier data and then the internet data. And the carrier data is called SS7, and the internet data is funneled through the internet, routed through the normal means, and that's what comes from the operating system of the application processor, meaning the Google Android or Apple, the Apple iOS. So without that, there's no. If for example you don't have a SIM card, and it's not going to use the baseband modem without the SIM card, so then you have a baseband modem that's basically inactive unless they use Wi-Fi, then there's actually no way for any application to see the IMEI and the MAC addresses or any other fixed identifiers, and certainly cannot look into the secure enclave and find out any information about the chip. It doesn't exist. Now, how do I know this to be true? Well, because I looked at the source code of Android open source project, which is the basis for the custom ROMs that we use. Like, for example, BraxOS is based on Android open source project. And so we can look at the source code, the original source code, to see, and obviously if there's something in it, we can take it out, but it's not there. There is actually no code, and that was actually one of the features added in Android 9. So the Google phone has the unique ability for being disconnected from big tech, and because of that, it's really standalone. The phone, you cannot really mess up the Google phone because it doesn't have all of that little features that can actually spy on it. Boy, I'm running out of time here. Sorry about that. I kind of wasted my time with a bunch of issues on the technical side. So anyway, I use the phone in a different. And this, I'm going to close it out with a suggestion for you, and that is, some of you come to me and say, "Hey, you know, I'm using a phone that I like to have, you know, a lot of storage. I want 256 gigabytes on there, kind of like a computer drive, because I want to put like my entire life's photos on the phone, so that when I'm with my friends, I can show them all the photos in my life." And this is such a common thing, you know. Some of my friends, especially older friends, you know, the people who are new to the technology, they actually copy all their photos onto the phone and they use it as permanent storage, and then they back it up, of course, on iCloud, and they pay for that storage as well. You know, not only they give a copy to Apple so they can do facial recognition, they give them a copy. So now you have your phone and then the copy, and you put 256 gigabytes of this, and you're like so proud of this. That's not the way I use a phone. Not the way I use a phone. The way I use a phone is, you know, I only use it for temporary storage, and I download the photos from the phone and move it to a computer where I can store it elsewhere, not in the cloud, but someplace else, like, you know, on the computer or local drive or some other SSD storage. and I clear out the photos from the phone. The point is, I don't trust the phone. Even if it's a Google phone, there's no reason for me to rely on the phone. If somebody ever captures the phone and all of your personal information is there, then you're zucked. Because that's really what they're trying to say, is that if somebody steals your phone, those parties cannot see your data. Well, that's correct. That's the idea of security. If somebody steals your phone, they don't tell you, though, that Apple and Google are stealing your data. It's like, oh, it's okay if anybody, nobody else can steal your phone because, you know, the police guaranteed that, you know, your phone is secure. But the Apple police and Google police are exempt. They can steal anything from the phone. So that's the conclusion, guys. So that is the fake news about your phone being secure when it's really not. Okay, so I'll continue on this topic if you're interested, but let me just take a sponsor break. And my sponsor is Linode. So let me tell you about my sponsor. Linode, of course, is a cloud provider, so it's you know, allows you to set up servers in the cloud. You know, just like the cloud, I'm talking about your data kept in the cloud. Well, you can do that. You can actually set up your own version of Google Docs and Google Calendar and all of this, Google Photos with, for example, a product like Nextcloud. You can run Nextcloud for free. Put it on the server, put it on the cloud on, let's say, on Linode, and then connect your phone to it, and it'll be your own private Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Photos. It'll be private on your own Nextcloud. I have a Nextcloud video. You can try that out. But that's an example of what you can use a server software for, because you can put that on a server in the cloud, and then, which is, you know, your own, and have a secure way of doing things. So if you need any kind of server in the cloud, the recommended one provider for cloud services is Linode. Linode is much cheaper than AWS, GoDaddy, and they have such excellent tech support in my 2 years of experience with them, which is not something I can say about just about any of the providers that I work with, and I work with a ton of them. I still work with AWS, and most of my activity is on Linode, and it's really where I keep most of my servers. So anyway, if you use the code linode.com/RobBraxman, they will give you a $100 credit that you can use for a period of 2 months. So take advantage of that, and then you can test it out for free. Okay. Now, I have a, and by the way, relating back to the question or the statement I made about people saying they want the biggest storage available on the phone. When people ask me that, and many do when they buy a phone from me, they ask how much storage is in it, and you know, nowadays the standard is 128 gigabytes, and some of them are still unhappy with 128 gigabytes. They want 256 gigabytes. The standard before was 64 gigabytes, and it's like, what do you want? Why do you want 256 gigabytes on a zucking phone? It's just a phone. Because many of you use the phone as a computer. So I'm going to make you I'll give you a tip here. And my tip, guys, is that you should really go to the computer. Something I've been advocating for a long time. I know this trend since, you know, the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 years. There's been this total abandonment of computers, and everyone went to completely be reliant on the phone for all internet activity and for everything. It's like, we don't need a computer anymore. I can do everything on the phone. You know, I talk to my young nieces who you know, my millennial nieces who have a phone, and one of them says, well, I don't I don't even use my computer except at work. If it's not work related, I don't use the computer at all. It's something that I'm gonna tell you, that change your mind. You know, get a nice computer. I don't care what you get, just get a nice computer. It's gonna be better than a phone. Not all computers are safe. For example, if you get a Mac or a Windows, it's not as safe as a Linux computer. However, in proportion, even an unsafe computer is 10% of the risk of a phone. The phone is 90% of the risk. It's like a 10-to-1 ratio. 10-to-1 ratio of risk. You know, there is very limited data that you can capture in a computer because, of course, a computer, aside from not being portable, a computer does not have sensors. So, for example, location is not derived directly, it's derived indirectly through Wi-Fi triangulation. They can't even sense the location automatically as they do on the phone. And you can block that location tracking on a computer because it's doing it indirectly through the Wi-Fi, card or Wi-Fi chip in your computer. And so you can bypass it with permissions. You can't do that on the phone. There's no way. HQ always knows where the phone is. That's why, you know, Apple can actually know. If somebody stole a phone, they actually know where the phone is. Yeah, they're not going to tell you that they know because they don't want anybody calling them and asking them if that's possible. But they can triangulate the phone, and they can do, if you subpoena the information, they can geofence and say, there was a murder over in Idaho. Tell me all the people in the area. And of course, that can be done. They used it very nicely in January 6th, you know. If they're motivated, so here it's a federal agency, and they said, we want to know everyone who was at the Capitol and get all their phones and phone numbers. And of course they got that. They got that. Have I tried Cubes before? Cubes is almost impossible to run. You need some special computers, special old computers. Cubes hardly runs on any new computer. So no, I have never been successful with Cubes because I don't have that kind of computer. Cubes uses hardware virtualization. It's just the way they designed it, with hardware virtualization instead of, you know, the virtualization done on any other computer nowadays. And because of that, it requires a certain feature in the chip that doesn't exist on many new models. So yeah, Cubes is a fail in that sense because who can use it? So I've used Unix, yes, but I don't need to use Unix anymore. So I used to use Unix until one of the guys who works at Unix started to bug me because he's part of the same crowd of people over at Reddit. So he's an a-hole. So if I ever use Unix, I'm almost like saying to you, I wish I never had experience with Unix. But yes, I use Unix. But you can simulate what Unix does with a VPN router or a Tor router. So Unix is basically a software-based Tor router built into the OS. So Unix is actually made of the main OS and then a Tor routing element. Now you can simulate this in other ways. It doesn't require anything. Something that I haven't explained it because I haven't made the video yet, but you can use something called LokiNet, and you can simulate that Unix kind of experience without hardware. If you're not using LokiNet, I use a Brax router. Many of you have my Brax router. That's an independent device. The Tor routing or VPN routing, whichever mode you want to use, is run in, you know, separately, and that is used on that the Tor routing side is done there. So that's basically the main feature of Unix, is this ability to do routing of all the traffic through Tor, which again you can simulate on basically any platform nowadays by running LokiNet, something I will explain in a different video. Okay, so just so you understand what that is. Do I need to use Unix? No, I don't, because I have a Brax router. So all of my traffic is routed through the router. And I use the router in Tor mode if I want to, or in VPN mode if I want to. Most cases I just use VPN mode because it's fast. I don't need to have the slow Tor mode or slow LokiNet mode. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have here. So do you need to use Tails or Unix, or like I said, you can emulate that without using those. But if you're snowed in, you probably will want to use something that extreme, because they're kind of extreme. They use Tor, which means extremely slow internet access. And if you need to have that kind of security because you're hiding from 3-letter agencies, well, yeah, you can use that. For normal people, no. And it doesn't even matter, because you got the bulk of the population using a phone. You can't run Tails or even emulate any kind of action like Tails or Unix on a phone. A normie phone is a normie phone. It talks to Google all day. Here's the funny thing. So some of you will say, I'm gonna use a Google Android, and I'm smart. I'm a cybersecurity guy. I'm a cybersecurity guy, and I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna run this app called Orbot. And what Orbot does is it makes the phone communicate over Tor. Okay, so now you're like, ha ha, my phone is so secure now because I'm such a zucking expert. My phone is now talking over Tor. Yeah, except your phone is still talking to Google. So who cares? Who cares? This is an example of security versus privacy. Who cares if your phone is talking to over Tor? Your Google ID is being passed. Your Google ID is being sent. Your Google ID is being sent anyway. So what the suck are you trying to accomplish there? So your Google ID is going to Google, and you're telling me that you're going to use Tor, and somehow it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing because your phone is going to be super secure with Tor. And this is just an example. This is just an example of complete misunderstanding of the technology. It's like you don't even understand what you're talking about. You don't even understand what people are trying to tell you about, the security of a phone or non-security of a phone, when they don't even know what data we're talking about. So yes. So just hold on. I just changed the title on the video because nobody's watching the video because, of course, it didn't have the correct title. So, okay, so I solved the title problem there now. Okay, so every time I do a live stream, there's always some technical problem. I just have 2 new computers in here. This is new for me. I have 2 mini PCs running. I have 2 mini PCs with detachable laptop-like keyboard. So it's like a laptop with a screen, but it's actually connected to the mini PC. And it's actually a pretty cool combination here because I got like a desktop setup without using a lot of space. So I don't have like a bunch of keyboards here. So I actually have like it. If you come to my desk, it looks like 2 laptops in here. So I got one here and one here. And but they're actually running a mini PC. And one's running Linux and one's running Windows. The one I'm using for the streaming side is running Windows, but the other one is running Pop OS. So that's a unique setup here. So I got 2 screens to look at here. Anyway, because of all these things that I had to set up, it's been unstable here as I have issues. I don't really know what the issue is. I have a suspicion it has nothing to do with me. I have a suspicion the problem is at Restream.io, that they screwed up somehow. I don't know. No Zucking Chromebook. Oh, Zuck. Why would you use a Zucking Chromebook? Can you use a Chromebook without a Google ID? Come on, Alan. Think about it. You got a Chromebook attached to the Zucking hip to Google. So every click you do, every click on that device, oh my gosh, like talk about total tracking. Every click on the Zucking Chromebook is recorded. That, by the way, that's what you're giving your kids. Your kids are on Chromebook. So by the way, logged in with their school ID, which happens to be Gmail. You don't even know that. The school ID on a Chromebook is Gmail. So now your kids are being tracked. Every click they do is recorded, and you know their identity is all mashed up into one from the time they're in you know, using a Chromebook when they're what, 10, younger, 9. This is the kind of craziness that we're talking about here, and people don't even understand this. So, yeah, is there plenty of easy-to-use Linux distros for beginners? I've been using Pop! OS. It's certainly one of the easier ones to use. And then there's Zorin. Zorin looks like Windows. There's Mint, and many new users seem to like Mint. I'm a little confused by Mint a little bit, but Linux Mint. But many new users like it. I kind of prefer Pop! OS, but that's up to you. Those three are three examples of fairly easy to use distros. Okay, so Fedora is not for beginners. You know, the ones that are easy to use are, yeah, it's not going to be Fedora. Some of these, like, you know, like Manjaro. Manjaro is actually very technical, and it's actually quite powerful because there's some very nice technical features on it. So if you're an advanced Linux user, Manjaro is actually nice. But I found that you know, that's distracting to me since I'm not using Linux for that. You know, I just want the computers to work. I have a ton of computers. I mean, just in my desk here, I have 2. And I have a stack of laptops, you know, elsewhere where I work. So this is my broadcast station. There's 2 computers in here. Actually, there's 4. Well, there's 2 more over there. So I got a ton of computers. A ton. There may be 20 computers around here. I don't know, maybe more. I don't even know. There's a lot. And I have every kind, and there may be 10 broken ones as well on top of that. Is it better to use a DNS or a VPN? Can you explain to me why would you connect a DNS to a VPN? I mean, those are 2 different concepts. DNS is DNS. VPN is a VPN. There's no connection. What's your thoughts on Element? I don't have any good thoughts about Element. I don't use Element. I don't want to use Element. Okay? A lot of, like, you know, security experts use Element, and it's like, zuck you. You want your metadata? Go to Zucking Element. You know, centralized metadata. Metadata is built into Element, to Matrix, because they're all centralized and most of them are on the Element servers. Zuck that. Matrix was never designed to be free of metadata. Yeah, they do encryption supposedly. Yeah, what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything when everybody knows who your contacts are. So, you know, can you imagine being a just to put this in terms that you can understand. Can you imagine you're a whistleblower and somebody said, oh, what would be the best platform to use as a whistleblower? Would I ever suggest to you as a whistleblower let's say you're a whistleblower from, the three-letter agencies, would I ever suggest to you to go to Matrix? Zuck, no. Hell no. Hell sucking no. No. That would be complete evil. And some of you will even use Signal. Even that's stupidity. Okay? I would only use a platform that has no identity whatsoever. It doesn't even have to be encrypted. You can go to Brax.me. And even if you had an unencrypted, Brax.me is encrypted, but let's say that Brax.me were not encrypted. Who cares? Because nobody knows who you are. So you have two people talking on the internet. This is, by the way, if you watch, I'll give you, tips for spy novelists, because this was actually done. This is just an example to just prove the point. Somebody was trying to have an affair. The general, if you remember the story, the general and forget what the woman was doing. She's some consultant or something, and was having an affair with the general. And what they did, this is talking about security by obscurity, because there was no actual encryption used, and yet it was pretty hard to discover. And what they did was they set up an email account. Think about this, people. These two set up an email account. One email account. Okay? And what these players did, just to show you the impact of no metadata, what these two people did is set up an email account, and the email account never sent outgoing email. It didn't send outgoing email at all. All they did was leave messages in drafts. So they would leave notes, meaning they would compose an email and save it as a draft. Okay? Just understand what the effect of this. So the drafts folder will be full of unencrypted messages. Okay? But nobody knows who the email is, and nobody knows who's talking to each other because they're using one email account. This is an example of complete identity compartmentalization. And so it's actually pretty secure. I don't know actually how they got discovered, because in theory, this could have gone on. In fact, it's a technique that's often used. It's what's the official term for a box like this? It's like a Dropbox. And I don't mean Dropbox the platform. I mean a drop box. It's a drop point. You drop the messages into this. This is a very, I mean, sometimes the stuff I know, it's crazy how people don't even understand some of this. It's like basic stuff. Okay, you set up a Dropbox and you leave messages in the Dropbox and you never send them anywhere. You don't send them anywhere. The messages stay in the Dropbox because there's no communication. No one can intercept it at the three-letter agency side, since it's not going through to anything else. Your connection to the Dropbox or the platform itself is encrypted by HTTPS, so no one can intercept that. But nobody knows who's accessing the Dropbox, in theory, because it's not sending traffic. So I don't know how they got found out, but when they discovered, maybe one of them, leaked it. I don't know, but how would you even find this out? So, but this is a very effective technique. So here's another example. You go to Brax.me, you set up a Brax.me account and talk to yourself. Two of you are using one account. That's even more secure, because who the hell knows that there's two people involved with one account? Okay, and Brax.me doesn't keep IP addresses. Brax.me has no IP addresses. It's not even a database. Okay, so it's open source. You can see we don't track the IP addresses, and our servers have no IP addresses. So, and it's open source, so there are no little tricks in there. And that's an example of, when people say, well, your Brax.me is not end-to-end encrypted. Like, yeah, so what? And the reason it's very hard to do end-to-end encryption when you have a web-based app, because there's no place to store there's no permanent storage for the encryption. So so there's a limit. Braxme is encrypted. It's encrypted with a forward secret code that's generated for every transaction, unique. But the key has to be visible to the server while it's processing it, because there's no place to store it. So somebody went on Twitter, I think, and said, "Oh, this Braxme guy, he's the server could possibly intercept the secret key." The key's not stored, as you can see in the source code. We don't store that secret key. Yeah, but it's a web-based app. So do you have another way of doing it? I don't. So anyway, I don't push Braxme as an end-to-end encrypted platform. It is encrypted. It's not end-to-end encrypted because of that limitation of web servers. The point is, the app doesn't have an identity. It's one of the very few. There are very few apps that actually take care not to collect any kind of identifier. And Braxme is one of the few that does not. There's just absolutely... I absolutely make an effort to not collect any kind of data. In fact, early on, when I first started the app and I was watching the data flow and seeing, is there anything here that I collect that could be metadata? And I wanted to make sure to obscure that or stop collecting it. So, the best is just not to collect it. So because I can't collect identifiers on Braxme, I don't have to worry about some three-letter agency asking me for identity of somebody, because there's none. Because the app doesn't keep any kind of identifiers. I don't even require emails or phone numbers. There's no requirement for anything. You can use TOTP authentication if you want, but that's about it. There's no requirement to do anything. You can keep your email if you want to protect your email. Your account, because you're using it for social media, but you're not required to. And certainly you can set up several accounts, because I have one account that has an identifier and one does not. Okay, and I can't actually know if you set up more than one account. Well, there's a way to know, but not directly. So, and it's allowed. You can set up multiple accounts if you wish. Okay, so what is your question? I may be asking too simple of a question, but what is the question? Draft mail sounds good, Jay says. Second account coming up. Well, you don't have to set, goodness, we won't have legit accounts on Braxme. I don't want the majority of people to be duplicate accounts. But Braxme has 82,000 82,000 users, active users, I believe. So yeah, 82,000 users. Braxme is kind of nice too, because it has photo storage and file storage. It's good for like temporary transfer. Let's say you want to pass a photo to somebody, and you can just pass a link on Braxme to the person, and just pass it through, pass the link through email. So that's kind of neat. In fact, sometimes I need to pass a file from a phone to another phone, and I say, how do I do this? I don't want to put cables in. I don't want to put an SD card. I don't want to plug it into a computer. Simple. I go to Braxme, upload the document in one, and then the photo in one, and download it on the other. So there's other ways to do that. Patriot Mobile. Yeah, that works. What else are you asking? What's the most secure phone service provider? There's no such thing as a secure phone service provider. That doesn't exist. Can you explain using SIM card on extra phone to do social media 2FA? Yeah, I explained that in many videos, and I do it myself. And I want to make an announcement regarding that. So what I've been using, so my main account on my phone, I have 2 SIM cards on my Brax 2 phone. Brax 2 phones are kind of unique because they can have 2 SIM cards, and that's not typical of most normie phones. But Braxme has 2 SIM cards, and SIM card number 1, in my case, happens to be T-Mobile. And then I was using Ting, tingmobile.com as my secondary SIM card for 2FA because it was cheap. It was like 15 bucks or less a month, 12 to 15 bucks a month. And I don't use it for much of anything else except for incoming texts. And Ting disconnected many of us this last week. Many of us. Many people running Brax phones. And they disconnected us. And the reason given is that we have duplicate IMEIs, which is true. I'm going to be very frank with you. I've been using the same IMEI on hundreds, maybe 1,000 phones. I don't even know how many I've done. It was since September. I've put the same Zucking IMEI on the phones, meaning these phones have no identity that you can't even know who owns the phone. The IMEI is tied to a Pixel 4a, except they're duplicates. So Ting decided, oh, we're going to be, this is fraudulent. There's no law against that, by the way. So this is fraudulent. So we're going to disconnect you people because you have duplicate IMEIs, because they're using the IMEI to spy on you. So I said, Zuck you. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're on Zucking Ting, dump Ting. Dump Ting now. Stupid company. Stupid company. So I've given them a chance. I told them, I talked to somebody over there and said, put me into manager so I can express, what I'm saying here, because I'm going to give you, hundreds of customers in theory. And I already gave them hundreds of customers. So I'm going to tell those hundreds of customers, leave Ting. Suck you. I mean, you can get, I used to rail against Ryan Reynolds on Mint, but because our IMEIs are now blocked by Mint, okay, we're going to try Mint because it's 15 bucks a month, about the same as I was paying on Ting. So, Zuck you Ting. So hope you collapse. Hope you lose all of your business because you're Zucking. Do not care about your Zucking customers. You do not care about your Zucking customers. So you have the worst tech support ever. The worst. No, but you can't even get help. They don't even update the Zucking APNs, and all of the people that put on Ting have to go manually update the APNs because they're so zucked up. They're so zucked up technically, but they're good at spying. So they want to know that IMEI. So zuck you, Ting. So telling you right now, if you're on Ting, it doesn't cost you much to leave because you're on a monthly plan. Easy enough to leave Ting. So I'm going to leave Ting. I don't know where I'm going to go. I can go to Mint. I can go to Pure Talk. Pure Talk works fine. Pure Talk is AT&T. Let me see what the deals are, and because it's just for 2FA. So anyway, the question was, what do you do with 2FA? So what you do is you keep your main number. So nothing in what I say says you got to get rid of your main number because people already know you from your main number and probably the number used for business. What you want to do is eliminate the connection between contact lists, which are uploaded to big tech, and that phone number, the main phone number. And the way you solve that is the 2FA number that you use should be something that no one else knows, that your contacts don't know. Basically, a number that your contacts will never call you on. Okay, so they can't put that number on the contact list, and then that gets uploaded somewhere. So that's the only secret to 2FA. If you have a number that's not connected to anything, then what happens is big tech dead ends, because otherwise they already have data. They say, oh, I've seen that number that's connected to these people because they're part of your contact relationship map. So again, it's amazing how many people just have no understanding of how the data is captured, and just have no understanding of what I'm talking about with keeping the data away from prying eyes. And the 2FA method is very simple. By the way, I had to do 2FA Uh, Skype is not going to work because Google doesn't accept Skype. So you're going to need a real phone number to do Google. So if you're going to do Google, you might as well do a separate number. So I myself had to do 2FA because I set up these 2 mini PCs in here. So I set up, I connected Chrome on my mini PC here running Pop! OS. I connected to YouTube because, you know, it's here to monitor the YouTube comments. So obviously Google wanted, you know, 2FA. It said, well, this is a new device and we need you to do 2FA. Now, and then they said, well, we're going to text this number, you know, ending in 7. So we're going to, you know, send the code to your phone with the number ending in 7. Okay? Whatever number, but I'm using 7 for an example. So, the problem is that Ting.com disconnected my account because of the IMEI issue. So I can't even log into, this is how stupid they are. I can't even log into Ting because when I go to Ting, it says 2FA. Look at the stupidity of this. Ting is doing 2FA on me where their phone line is the 2FA, and in which case I can't do 2FA because they locked the account. Okay, I mean, this just talks about the example of the stupidity of you know, this account. So now I can't go in because they forced 2FA on me, and then they're the supplier to phone number, and they 2FA'd you on the same phone number. Well, I can't go into the account. So the next thing they're going to see is just me talking on social media saying, and I'm going to be, remind me to repeat this often, dump Ting. I'm going to repeat this often because we want them to lose business. We want them to lose fucking business because they have such bad customer service. Bad customer service. And if I find a company like that, we're gonna hammer them on this channel, and we'll tell you, you know, if 500,000 of you hear this and you say dump Ting, that it'll make, they don't have that many subscribers, so you know, so if they lose that many, it's going to be significant for them. Okay, so so now I'm just gonna go set up a new account and transfer the phone number. Or for 2FA purposes, I don't need to care what the original phone number is. They can keep the old phone number, close the account. Who cares? Because, you know, I used to change phone numbers every month for 2FA. So how did I do 2FA in Google's case without a phone? Well, it requires you to use a Googled phone. Or in my case, I have to use an iPhone. My iPhone is kept in a Faraday bag. This is one of those instances where the phone has to come out of the Faraday bag for a few minutes so that I can do the Google app on it, because the verification is they send you an email, then they send you a notification on the Google app on the iPhone running iOS. So I get the code, and they give me the code, and then I turn off the phone and put it back in the Faraday bag. And hopefully, I guess I have to use it again when I get a new phone number. But that's the game I have to play. So did iPhone, did they get data from the iPhone? Yeah, of course. But they already knew it. It's my old phone, so the phone doesn't leave. So wherever they found it last, it's not moved, and it has no activity, so they can't do any social media tracking since it's not used for social media. So anyway, so is there a problem with using Vonage, however you want to pronounce that? No, of course it'll work fine. Did you vote for Quigley Saxton? I'm an American citizen. I don't know what you're telling me, Quigley. Why would I vote? Why would I vote in you know, in election that I'm not a citizen of? So I'm not even there. Okay, I'm a U.S. citizen. So, but zuck that, you know, son of a gun, son of the dictator. That's a dictator that you know, made me be what I am today. Marcos the dictator. Everything I'm talking about is just, it's a reflection of my experience with the dictator and how I was controlled by an authoritarian leader when I was young, and unforgettable life experience, and the stupid people over there elected the son. How stupid can you be? Okay, got it. So, not me. We're not gonna go do that. So yeah. So what phone would Mad Max use? Mad Max was in a, there was no internet during Mad Max time. Mad Max, there's no internet. You know, it doesn't need a phone. There's no internet. He would, if I were Mad Max, I would use ham radio. Decentralized communications, ham radio. That's why you want, you know, that's why you want the ham radio. If you don't have a ham radio license in an emergency, that's what you need. Ham radio license. You like Jitsi Meet app talk? Wow, if you get your family to talk in Jitsi, that's amazing. Because I don't have that kind of success. One question: Can you put Bytes VPN software onto your supported router from Amazon? The only to VPN supported router over Amazon? Yeah, you can. I'm not going to give you instructions though. You're going to have to manually transfer the OVPN file over, and yes, you can do it. Yeah, it's quite doable. And then you just use Brax VPN subscription, and yeah, there's no issue. You can do that. So is Mint Mobile okay to use? Yeah, you know, they can't block a Brax 2 phone on Mint now because, you know, the IMEI appears as a pixel. So they don't block it. So you're an amateur extra. Fascinating. That's great. I'm just a measly general. I didn't have time to do extra. Where do I get Faraday bags? On Amazon. That's the Sun. Is that the Sun? Yes, that's the Sun. Do you buy the SIM card in person or online? I've been buying it online. Or you call them, they'll mail it to you. What about Apple's recent updates that supposedly brings end-to-end encryption to iCloud and only the user stores the key? Exciting, yeah. The problem, and there may be truth to that. I mean, you know, maybe they can you know, do some elements of that, but there's a little bit of mistruth here, because one of the things that Apple said was they do facial recognition on the photos you put on iCloud. The reason they gave for this, and this was announced some years back, maybe 4 years ago now, I can't remember, maybe 4 years ago, it's before I went to YouTube, was that they wanted to recognize your friends. So if they know your contacts from your contact list, from who you talk to on iMessage, then they do facial recognition so that your photos can be recommended to be sent to those friends. So that's one of the things that we're doing. So then they say, oh, well, we will do end-to-end encryption over parts of that. Okay. Yeah, see, this example of a fake thing. So you encrypt certain things, but you don't certain things. You encrypt certain things, and then you say, we're going to do client-side scanning, and then we're going to do facial recognition on the photos, and consider that separate. So it's all kind of a fake story. And by the way, and then your iPhone, of course, is tracking your location, and you can't stop, which has nothing to do with encryption. It's not connected with any of that. So yeah, there's just no solution. The iPhone is full of BS. Okay, they're full of BS. Okay, they can always track us with. Come on, Sean. That's conspiracy theory now. Can we what? Can we becure aliens? Whatever that means. Would it be possible to drill a hole through the damn GPS chip? No. No. The problem is the GPS chip is now part of the Wi-Fi chip, and by the way, it's extremely small, right? And everything's tied to it now. So, and if you even knew where it was, because it'll be a Broadcom chip, so you have to look for that specific Broadcom chip, and it's going to be microscopic in size. Okay, it's going to be microscopic, and you're going to want to disconnect that, and then the error correction of the device will say some module isn't running, and then it stops running. So no, can't do it. What ROM software do you mostly use when Googling a phone? My Brax 2 phones are using Brax OS because Brax 2 phones are made with Brax OS specifically. If we're doing degoogling for you, most of you will receive phones that are running Lineage OS or Calyx OS. I don't have a problem with Calyx. They're good, and they support every pixel model. So we do, for example, on Pixel 6 and above, we automatically use Calyx because there's no Lineage OS support. How difficult is the update of the OS? Are you talking about which OS? Well, if you haven't done any flashing, it's difficult to start. Once you've done it, then it's easy. Why should I trust Brax phones? Well, don't, alien, because you're an alien anyway. Why should I trust you? Brax phones run Brax OS, open source. So there's a link to the open source. Go look at it. What is Brax OS coded from? I just said Brax OS, which comes from the Good Phone Foundation Lunar OS, open source. Again, open source. So don't trust it. I mean, it doesn't matter what you think. Many of you do trust it because there's like thousands of you have already bought it. Alien says, calm down. Well, it's hard to get calmed down when there's a lot of attackers here. A lot of people come here specifically to attack, and they will make questions, make comments like that, not legitimately. They just want to troll here. You have 4 in your family. 007. That's amazing. So yeah, so we've sold obviously a lot of Brax phones. Brax phones are better than even Lineage OS because we control the OS. In fact, we can even do updates to higher levels of Androids, where some of these other ones, they basically stop. So they have a very short lifespan with support for the software, because nobody wants to support software beyond a certain point. Well, we can because we have the source code. Do you trust Elon Musk to make Twitter open source and private? Do you trust it? Why would Twitter make it open source? He never said it was open source. It's the link to Lunar OS source include the Brax OS. There's no difference between Lunar OS and Brax OS except for some graphics. The only difference is the graphics. There's nothing else different. It's basically Lunar OS. Is Aurora Store safe? Yes, it is. Well, I mean, it depends on you're downloading Facebook, it may be safe, but the app may be a dangerous app. But on a Google phone, you can't really make too many mistakes because there's no identity on the phone. I work from home company computer. My question is, if they own the Mac, would I have to switch from your VPN router to my regular network gear now when I log into work? Yeah, I do that all the time. I actually have several Wi-Fi routers here. One is Starlink, one is a VPN router, one is a unencrypted router, because sometimes the somebody will complain about a VPN, and so I have multiple Wi-Fi's available for me, and I switch to whatever I need to use without doing anything. I just switch Wi-Fi, and it just handles all the encryption stuff. What about Starlink security? Starlink is using IPv6, and because of the way they're using it, it actually anonymizes you pretty well. So you don't even have to do anything with Starlink. It's because it's not a wired connection. It's not like IPv6 in a wired environment where they can actually spot where the node is. Since it's satellite, within the area there could be thousands of users talking to satellite. They can't actually pinpoint, exactly who's sending what traffic. Well, I guess they could because of the receiver, but that's not apparent to the other end. The recipient, like let's say you're running Facebook. Well, Facebook doesn't know your IP address because what it uses is the IP address of the Starlink shared router, the gateway between IPv6 and IPv4. So it's thousands of people will share the same IP address. I don't know what Starlink security is. I thought you were talking about Starlink. Because I have Starlink. I don't have Starling. Is there different eSIM and physical SIM? You do not want eSIM at all. You do not want eSIM. Is Starlink fast for me? Not Sterling, but Starlink, no. I can't say, for where I am, which is in LA, I can't say that Starlink is providing me with top speed. It's not. It's fairly slow. So would I recommend it here? No. I use it as a kind of a backup. I use it kind of a backup network, but it's not good for live streaming, for example. For live streaming, the upload speed is too slow. Well, Bytes VPN, I don't have a Brax VPN. Track, prevent, hack if used on smart TV. The smart TV problem is the three-letter agency turning on the microphone on your Samsung TV or whatever model they have nowadays. It's not a threat for normal people that we need to worry about. If you're a target, you probably shouldn't have a smart TV. Use your computer. Okay, so if you're Snowden, you probably shouldn't have a smart TV because they probably can listen into you. I have two Brax phones. I have problems connecting to T-Mobile when I go out of T-Mobile service area. Why? That's a service problem. Maybe you're connecting to Verizon. Also, the older Brax phone does not have band 4, which is used by Verizon. So maybe you're going to an area that uses band 4, and there's no band 4 in your area. These are very, localistic kind of problems. Starlink is okay for privacy, yes. Audit your government, pick up a camera. I don't know what that means. Were you going to move to Antarctica? Were you going to move to Antarctica? Actually, I did a video once where I said if you want to avoid surveillance, the place to go to is Iceland. Many movies on, seeking to evade three-letter agencies. In fact, that's where McAfee hid for for a while. He went to Iceland. And he was discovered because somebody took a photo of him, and he was in some remote part of Iceland, and somebody, because he went to the bar, I guess, somebody at the bar took a photo of him and said, McAfee is in Iceland. So Iceland has, is so spread out that you couldn't even do Wi-Fi triangulation, because I'm not sure you can find, if you're in a remote area, there's no Wi-Fi triangulation. Bobby Fischer stayed in Iceland as well. Are iPhones secure more? Come on, I mean, the whole video is about the phone security being BS. There's no such thing as a phone that's really secure. Forget it. The Google phone is a lot more secure than any zucking iPhone or Google Android. Secure and private. So yeah, don't. So what I'm telling you is, you you gotta dump your normie phone. If you're not dumping your normie phone, you should put initials on your name as NPC, because if you have a normie phone, you're an NPC. Okay, so if you have a normie phone, you need to change your YouTube name to whatever your name is, NPC. Okay, can BraxOS run in any other phone other than BraxOS? No, BraxOS is made only for Brax 2. Sean, yes, a normie phone is your standard iPhone and your standard Google Android. That's called a normie phone. There is no way to make a normie phone safe or secure or private. There is absolutely no way. Let's make that clear. I have no way. If I knew a way, I'd tell you. ME is an NPC. Any more NPCs here? I mean, if you're aware that you're an NPC, maybe you'll progress from being an NPC to being a non-NPC. Okay, so yeah, awareness of being an NPC is step one. Most people don't even know they're NPCs. So yeah, if you become aware that you're an NPC and says, oh, I'm an NPC, oh my gosh, I don't want to be an NPC, I better do something about it. Well, even the vast majority of the people in the chat here probably have normie phones. So there's a lot of people here who do not want to be NPCs because they're learning how to not be an NPC. So yeah, I'm a sucking NPC. There's a trips for free. Sucking NPC. Now, you could have a phone that's an NPC phone and then have the Google phone, and then you do disinformation. So let's say you use the NPC phone for business only, no social media. And then you have the Google phone for social media. Okay. That would limit the data. Basically, you have to try to be aware of what data is being taken from you and then try to limit it. Okay, I only have 2 minutes left. You look at YouTube for free. Not only an NPC, but he's also deplorable. Wow. Yes, ME, being aware. That's you're at step one, you're aware. You once described how phone manufacturers first install ASP, then install gaps. Big question. Are they obligated to install gaps? Yes, they are obligated by contract. Correct. They are obligated by contract. So otherwise, then they don't get support from Google. Yes, they're obligated by contract. So that's actually a requirement that they behave in a certain way. For example, Huawei doesn't have that contract. So Huawei is forced to use, they cannot install gaps. Huawei is not allowed to install gaps because they don't have a contract. So, yeah. So if you sell, I got a few seconds here. If you're selling a standard phone, Google, normie, NPC, Google phone, you cannot have a bunch of other phones that are de-Googled. You can't do that. You're not allowed. By accepting Google, then all of your products need to have Google. That's the contract. So, and Samsung and or LG or any of those, they're not allowed to sell de-Googled phones. Okay, not allowed because they have a contract. Some companies do not have a contract. I don't believe OnePlus may be one of the companies that don't have a contract. I'm not sure how they're handling that. So some are bypassing that in some way. I don't know how they're doing that. Okay, so anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I'm sorry for messing up the titles and everything here. And I don't know. I'm going to have to debug and see what I did wrong. And hopefully we'll prevent it next time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye, YouTube. And then